Greetings, friends. I'm Oleh Ivchenko, the head of the Wise Group company. I present to you a new episode of hot news from the world of intellectual property. Today's focus is on these topics. Ukrainian Octopus interceptor drones will be produced in Great Britain. Music companies are uniting in opposition to artificial intelligence. And Alexander Graham Bell's victory in the patent race a century and a half ago. Let's go! The latest Ukrainian development in the field of defense technology, the Octopus interceptor drone, was presented to a British delegation led by the Deputy Prime Minister of Great Britain, David Lammy. This drone was created by the Ukrainian military to intercept enemy Shahed-type drones and is already being used by the air defense forces. The Octopus will be produced not only in Ukraine but also in Great Britain. This was made possible thanks to a licensing agreement and a new model for managing intellectual property rights within the system of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. Importantly, the technology remains the property of the state, but is legally transferred to partners for mass production. This is one of the first publicly recorded examples where Ukraine's state defense technology is transferred to partners under a licensing model, with full retention of rights by the state. At the end of January 2026, major music rights holders filed one of the largest copyright infringement lawsuits in United States history. Universal Music Publishing Group and several other companies are demanding over $3 billion in compensation from Anthropic, a company working in the field of artificial intelligence. The lawsuit concerns the illegal use of more than 20,000 musical works. According to the plaintiffs, the lyrics of the works were used without permission to train Claude language models, specifically based on materials from pirated online libraries. This is already the second lawsuit against Anthropic. Music rights holders filed the first case back in 2023. At that time, it concerned a much smaller number of works, about 500. In the new case, their number has increased tenfold, which significantly changes the scale of the process. This could become the largest individual copyright infringement case in the United States, which will define new rules of the game in the field of artificial intelligence. Exactly 150 years ago, one of the most famous stories in the field of intellectual property unfolded. Alexander Graham Bell and another inventor, Elisha Gray, almost simultaneously applied to the United States Patent Office with developments related to the transmission of the human voice by an electrical signal. On February 14th, Gray filed a preliminary notice of invention, but on the same day, Bell's lawyer registered a full patent application. This is exactly what later determined the result. On March 7, 1876, Bell received a patent for the telephone and went down in history as its inventor, although he was not the only one working on this technology. But few people know about Gray. What proved decisive was not just the technical solution, but also following procedures, filing the application on time, correctly phrasing the claims, and establishing priority. This case is still considered one of the fundamental examples of how the legal side of innovation determines its future. That concludes today's episode. I'm Oleh Ivchenko, and this is the Wise Group team. Thank you for following the news from the world of intellectual property with us. Support this episode with a like and share it with those for whom this topic is truly important. Also, subscribe to our updates on LinkedIn and our blog on the corporate website. You'll find the links in the description. See you in the next episodes.